All right, so this time we're diving deep into hypersensitivity reaction.
Oh, yeah, someone's been doing their homework.
Looks like somebody's going to get a PhD in immune system drama.
That's right.
But hey, we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
Like that moment when your body mistakes a totally harmless peanut for like a rabid squirrel, you know?
It's like your immune system skipped the memo on chill and went straight for DEFCON 1.
Right. And it's so wild because like inflammation and immunity, those are like the MVPs. Like most of the time they are like saving the day, right? From infections and healing all our scrapes.
Yeah.
And then bam, they go rogue on a piece of pollen.
Yeah, that's true. And those reactions, I mean, they run the gamut from like annoying sniffles to like call 911 situations,
Right.
which, by the way, we'll totally unpack so you're prepared.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So speaking of prepared, you've got a whole stack of info on the 4 types of hypersensitivity.
I do.
Right.
Yes.
So should we probably start with the most common culprit? Type I?
Yeah, let's do it.
The quick draw gunslinger of the immune world.
Oh, yeah. Type I is notorious for causing a scene.
Right.
Talking, pollen allergies, turning you into a human sneeze machine.
Oh,
Food sensitivities, staging a revolt in your stomach. Even that friend who swears off cats because their eyes swell shut.
Whoa, 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 swelling eyes.
Oh.
See, now that's the scary stuff.
Yeah.
Let's deal with that.
So that's angioedema,
Okay.
basically swelling under the skin, often in the face,
Okay.
triggered by those pesky allergens.
Yeah.
It's like your immune system's version of a flashing neon sign, like, something's wrong here.
Makes sense. So we've got the sniffles, the stomach aches, the dramatic eye situations, but type I can also escalate to like life or death scenarios, right?
Absolutely. Anaphylaxis.
Anaphylaxis is serious business.
Yeah.
It's like your body hits the panic button and suddenly you're dealing with widespread hives.
Oh, no.
Your throat's closing up, your blood pressure plummets.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, definitely not messing around.
Okay, so clearly we need to understand how this whole type I thing works.
Yes.
Because knowing how to spot the signs early could be a game changer.
100%. And it all boils down to these little proteins called IgE antibodies.
Okay.
Picture them as your immune system security guards, hyper-focus on specific allergens.
Got it.
Pollen force. Certain foods, even bee venom, each one has its own dedicated IgE bodyguard.
And these IgE guards, they're not afraid to use force, are they? No, they are not.
What happens when they encounter their nemesis?
It's like they fire off a flare gun signaling intruder alert.
Oh, no.
They activate these cells called mast cells, which are basically like little armories stocked with histamine.
Ah, histamine, the notorious party crasher of the immune system.
Yes.
Isn't that the culprit behind all of those classic allergy symptoms that we love to hate?
You got it. Itchy, watery eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Blame histamine. Sneezing like you just sniffed a pepper shaker. Histamine again.
Oh, man.
That's why your eyes water when you chop onions. By the way, your body's releasing histamine, even though the onion isn't actually harming you.
Wow. So our bodies are waging microscopic wars against onions on the regular.
That's right.
No wonder we cry in the kitchen.
Exact.
But okay, back to the main point. Histamine is the messenger. And those IgE antibodies are the ones sending out the SOS signal.
Exactly. And depending on the severity of the reaction, those signals can either stay localized, like a little itchy bump where you got stung by a bee,
Right.
or they can go systemic, which is when things get really hairy, like with anaphylaxis.
Okay, so let's break down that bee sting scenario a little more because I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah.
You're enjoying a beautiful day outside, maybe sipping on some lemonade, and all of a sudden, bam, a bee decides your arm looks like a good landing pad.
Not the best picnic guest.
Definitely not. So walk us through it. What's happening at the cellular level when that bee venom enters your skin?
Well, if you're allergic, those IgE antibodies we talked about, they're on high alert.
Okay.
They recognize the venom as a threat, even though, let's be honest, it's just a bee trying to live its best life.
Right, right. No disrespect to bees.
Right.
They're just doing their bee thing.
Exactly. But our immune system, sometimes it's a little too gung-ho. So those IgE antibodies, they found the alarm, triggering those mast cells to release a flood of histamine and other inflammatory molecules into the surrounding tissues.
And that's what causes that instant localized reaction, the pain, the redness, the swelling.
Yep.
Your body's essentially throwing a little inflammatory party right at the sting site.
It's like calling in the troops, even though in most cases they're not really needed, but sometimes those reinforcements, they get a little carried away.
And that's when things can escalate from like minor annoyance to like We need backup stat.
Exactly. In severe cases, it's like those inflammatory signals get amplified, turning into a body-wide SOS.
Oh,
That's anaphylaxis. So instead of a localized reaction, you're looking at widespread hives, itching, swelling, especially in the face, lips, and tongue. Even scarier, you might experience difficulty breathing, wheezing, chest tightness, a drop in blood pressure. That's when you know it's serious.
okay, so in those moments, every second counts. What should someone do if they suspect they or someone around them is having an anaphylactic reaction?
First things first, epinephrine.
Okay.
It's like hitting the brakes on that runaway immune response.
Yeah, okay.
Epinephrine works fast to counteract the histamine flood, constricting blood vessels to reduce swelling, increasing blood pressure, and opening up airways to help you breathe again.
So basically, epinephrine is the superhero sidekick we all need in our back pocket,
Yeah.
or, in a handy-dandy EpiPen.
Yeah, exactly. Having an EpiPen and knowing how to use it correctly can be life-saving. We've all seen those dramatic scenes in movies, but in real life, it's all about staying calm, following the instructions, and getting professional medical help. ASAP.
And speaking of real life, let's talk about those everyday allergies that plague so many of us, like hay fever. I mean, you can't exactly live in a bubble during allergy season.
Right.
So what can people do to manage those sniffles and sneezes?
You're telling me I once spent a whole spring break convinced I had a permanent cold.
Oh, no.
Avoidance is a good starting point, even though it's not foolproof.
No, if you know pollen sends your immune system into a frenzy, maybe skip that hike through a field of wildflowers.
Precisely. And think about keeping those windows closed on high pollen count days, using air purifiers, even showering and changing clothes after being outdoors to remove those sneaky allergens.
Little things can make a big difference. Now let's talk meds. Over-the-counter allergy meds are like the go-to for many people, right?
For sure, antihistamines like cetirizine or loratadine can be lifesavers for those itchy eyes and runny noses. They work by blocking the effects of histamine, which, as we know, is the ringleader of those annoying allergy symptoms.
Right.
And the good news is that many of the newer antihistamines won't knock you out like those older ones.
Oh, thank goodness for that. I've definitely experienced the accidental nap side effect of some allergy meds.
Yeah.
Not ideal when you're trying to function like a normal human.
Right. But remember, it's always best to check with your doctor or pharmacist to find the right antihistamine for you,
Okay,
especially if you're taking other medications.
good point. It's better to be safe than... Sorry, what about those nasal steroid sprays I've heard about? Are those helpful for allergy sufferers?
Absolutely. Nasal steroid sprays work wonders for reducing inflammation in the nasal passages. They're like a soothing balm for those irritated tissues, calming down the swelling and mucus production.
Okay.
But keep in mind that they might take a little longer to kick in compared to antihistamines.
Patience is key. Now, we've talked a lot about type I, but remember those other hypersensitivity troublemakers?
Yes.
It's time to give them their due diligence.
Let's move on to type 2, where things get a little more personal.
Personal how?
We remember how we said your immune system can sometimes be a little overzealous,
Oh, yeah.
like mistaking a peanut for public enemy number one.
Yeah.
Exactly. With type 2 hypersensitivity, it's like your immune system takes that a step further and starts attacking your own cells.
What?
It's like a case of mistaken identity gone wrong, and the consequences can be serious.
Whoa, 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 attacking its own team. That's rough.
It is.
What kind of situations trigger that kind of reaction?
One of the most common examples is an incompatible blood transfusion reaction. Remember those markers we talked about? The ones on the surface of red blood cells that determine your blood type?
Yeah, like little name tags that tell your body, hey, I belong here.
Exactly. But if you receive a blood transfusion with incompatible markers, your immune system freaks out. It sees those transfused cells as foreign invaders and launches a full-blown attack, destroying them.
Yikes. So it's like those transfused cells forgot to wear the right name tag to the party, and now the bouncer, aka the immune system, is kicking them out.
You got it. And just like with those overzealous bouncers, it can get messy in the case of a mismatched blood transfusion. You might see symptoms like fever chills, back pain, and in severe cases, even kidney failure.
Oh, wow. Okay, that definitely emphasizes why understanding blood types and ensuring compatibility is so crucial. It's not just about the letters, it's about saving lives.
Absolutely. But blood transfusions aren't the only culprits behind type 2 reactions. Some autoimmune diseases, like certain forms of anemia and thrombocytopenia, also fall under this category. In these cases, the immune system mistakenly identifies components of your own blood, like red blood cells or platelets, as enemies, and launches an attack.
So it's like the immune system needs glasses to tell friend from foe.
Yeah,
That's kind of terrifying, but also fascinating.
it is.
Okay, so we've got type I, the quick draw.
Right.
We've got type 2, the mistaken identity. What
Yes.
about type 3? You mentioned something about tiny clumps causing chaos.
Ah, yes. Type 3 or immune complex reactions are like the traffic jams of the immune system. Imagine a bunch of tiny clumps formed by antibodies bound to antigens clogging up your bloodstream.
Okay, that doesn't sound good.
No,
Our bodies aren't exactly designed for microscopic traffic jams, are they?
not quite normally. These immune complexes are efficiently cleared out by the body's cleanup crew, but sometimes they can get stuck in tissues, particularly in the kidneys, skin, and joints.
That's when the real trouble starts.
You got these deposited complexes are like little ticking time bombs triggering inflammation wherever they land.
Oh no.
Think of it like this. Those tiny clumps are setting off alarm bells all over your body, causing those areas to flare up.
And those flare-ups, they can manifest in different ways, right?
They can.
What are some examples of conditions caused by this type of hypersensitivity?
One that you've probably heard of is rheumatoid arthritis.
Oh.
In this case, those immune complexes get lodged in the lining of the joints, leading to chronic inflammation.
Okay.
Talking pain, stiffness, and over time, even joint damage. It's like your immune system is waging a war against your own joints, and no one wins in that scenario.
Ouch, not the kind of battle you want happening inside your body. What about other examples?
Another big one is systemic lupus erythematosus, often called lupus for short.
Okay.
Lupus is a complex autoimmune disease where these immune complexes can wreak havoc on various organs, leading to a whole range of symptoms from debilitating fatigue and joint pain to skin rashes and kidney problems.
So lupus is like the ultimate immune system overachiever. It can affect so many different parts of the body.
Unfortunately, yes.
Mm.
It highlights just how powerful and unpredictable our immune systems can be, for better or for worse.
Okay, so we've got our rapid responder with type 1, our cellular attacker with type 2,
Yeah.
and our clumping chaos with type 3.
Yeah.
That brings us to our final contender, type 4, the delayed hypersensitivity reaction. The slow burn, as we like to call it. What's the story with this one? The slow burn, right? So we're not talking about a sudden histamine explosion like with type 1.
Right.
What's the mechanism of action here?
Type 4 is a different beast altogether. Instead of antibodies leading the charge, this one relies on a special task force of white blood cells called T lymphocytes, or T cells for short.
Okay.
These guys are like the immune system's elite soldiers trained to seek and destroy infected or abnormal cells.
Okay, so we've got our special forces unit ready to deploy, but why the delay?
Yeah.
What makes these reactions so slow to unfold?
It's all in the name delayed hypersensitivity.
Right.
Unlike those immediate reactions we see with the other types, type 5e takes its sweet time. We're talking 24 to 72 hours after exposure for those T cells to mobilize and mount their attack.
Oh, wow.
It's like they're carefully planning their strategy before launching a full-blown offensive.
So no snap judgments with this one. They're taking their time to assess the situation.
Exactly. And instead of antibodies causing the ruckus, it's those activated T cells releasing inflammatory chemicals that cause the damage.
Oh,
It's like a slow and steady release of inflammatory signals that build over time, leading to that delayed reaction.
interesting. So it's not a sudden explosion. It's more like a slow burn that intensifies over time. What are some common examples of type 5e reactions? Help us connect the dots here.
Think back to the last time you had a TB skin test.
Oh.
That's a classic example of type 5e in action. They inject a tiny bit of tuberculin under your skin. And if you've been exposed to tuberculosis, those sensitized T cells will react, causing a red firm bump to appear at the injection site a couple of days later.
Right.
It's like those T cells are marking the territory, saying, we've encountered this before and we're ready to fight back.
Ah, that makes so much sense. I've always wondered about those delayed reactions to TB tests. Now it all clicks. What about other examples? Give us another one.
All right, how about this? Remember that time you went hiking and a few days later you broke out in an itchy, blistering rash? You probably brushed up against some poison ivy or poison oak. That, my friend, is another prime example of type IV hypersensitivity.
Ugh, poison ivy. I've been there, and that slow burn is no joke. The itching is next level.
It's the worst, right? And it's a perfect example of how delayed these reactions can be. You might not even remember touching the plant, but those T cells, they remember.
It's like they hold grudges against those irritating plant oils.
You could say that, and that's why it's so important to wash your skin thoroughly. If you think you've come into contact with those plants, you're trying to remove the oils before they have a chance to fully penetrate your skin and trigger those T cells.
Damage control.
Yes.
It's all about minimizing exposure as much as possible. Now let's talk treatment. What can you do once those pesky T cells have already been activated and you're dealing with a full-blown type 5e reaction?
Well, the good news is that most type 5e reactions are self-limiting. That means they'll usually clear up on their own within a week or so, like that poison ivy rash, as much as we all hate them. Over-the-counter hydrocortisone cream can help tame the itching and inflammation, but for more stubborn cases, your doctor might prescribe a stronger corticosteroid cream or even oral steroids to calm things down.
So for type SOV, it's often about managing the symptoms and letting the reaction run its course, kind of like riding out a storm.
Exactly. But of course, prevention is always the best medicine. Once you know what sets off those T cells, whether it's a particular plant, a type of metal in jewelry, or certain chemicals, steering clear is your best bet. It's like they say, know thy enemy, or in this case, know thy trigger.
So true knowledge is power, especially when it comes to outsmarting our own immune systems. We've covered a lot of ground here today, from those rapid-fire type I reactions all the way to the delayed responses of type 4. It's clear that hypersensitivity is not a one-size-fits-all condition.
Absolutely. It's a whole spectrum of immune responses, each with its own unique quirks. And just like every superhero team needs a diverse set of skills, our immune system relies on this complex interplay of cells and signals to keep us healthy.
I love that analogy. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of hypersensitivity, what are some key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
First and foremost, listen to your body.
Okay.
Those sniffles, rashes, or tummy troubles, they're trying to tell you something. Recognizing the early signs of a hypersensitivity reaction, no matter how small, can make all the difference.
It's about connecting the dots, right?
Yes.
Like, my skin always gets itchy after I wear that bracelet. Maybe I should investigate.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Talk to your doctor. Do your research and become your own health advocate.
Because knowledge is power, and knowing your triggers and how to manage those reactions can be truly life-changing.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, we'll leave you with this thought. Your immune system is a powerful force capable of both incredible protection and occasional overreaction. Understanding the nuances of hypersensitivity is like having a superpower. It allows you to navigate those immune system quirks and live your healthiest life.
Absolutely. And remember, there's always more to learn. We've only scratched the surface of this fascinating field today.
We've given you the compass. Now go explore. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the amazing world of hypersensitivity reactions. We'll catch you next time for another adventure in knowledge.